public are welcome to attend in person. Please note that while an option for remote attendance or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. The meeting number tonight is 2345-519-2157, and the password is Burlington with a capital B. The first order of business is the approval of the September 5th meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
I still have one on the line, right? Mrs. Bond. Any discussion? Mrs. Bond?
Aye.
Mrs. Monaco?
Aye.
Ms. Simon?
Aye.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Dr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Kasha?
Yes.
Mr. Cuna?
Yes.
Mr. Sagarino?
Yes.
Mr. Denizio?
Yes.
Oh, David's on. Mr. Rosenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Volano?
Yes.
Mrs. Priest?
Aye.
Mrs. Bunker?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons? And I vote yes. I believe that's 15. 15-0-0. Doran Whittier has put together the previous public comment responses.
Thanks, Melissa. The first question that we have for this evening to review, there's multiple questions within this comment itself, but I'm going to go ahead and read the comment, and then we had a response put together by the project team as well as Dr. Conti, and so we can talk through that. But the first comment is public comment asks about enrollment numbers. They asked for Dr. Conti to provide some numbers on what are the numbers that DESE profiles are representing. According to DESE profiles, there were 428 students at Fox Hill last year and wanted to know whether it includes the lab students. They asked if the Pine Glen enrollment included DSC students. They also asked what is included in the enrollment numbers and what is the difference between enrollment and capacity. They would like to see a comparison across the different schools with these numbers. Eric, do you want me to go through the different comments? Okay. So first, to address the capacity enrollment. The chart on the next page outlines our current total elementary enrollment. The district has maintained approximately an 18-to-1 ratio at each of the elementary schools. And so the next page shows the current enrollment at the 4 elementary schools within the district. You can see current homerooms at Pine Glen. The kindergarten has 3 sections, 18, 18, and 20 with a total of 56. Grade 1, 3 sections, 17, 18, 18, 53. Grade 2, 3 sections with 15, 16, and 16 equaling 47. Grade 3, 3 sections with 16, 16, and 17 equaling 49. Grade 4 with 3 sections at 17, 17, 18 equaling 52. And grade 5 at 3 sections with 22, 23, 23 equaling 68, as well as the DSC program with 11 equaling 11, obviously. The current total enrollment is 336 with an average class size of 18.67. At the current homerooms at Fox Hill, the kindergarten has 4 sections with 20, 20, 20, and 21 equaling 81. Grade 1 has 4 sections at 15, 16, 16, 16, equaling 63. Grade 2 has 5 sections with 16, 17, 17, 17, 18, equaling 85. Grade 3, 5 sections at 15, 15, 15, 15, and 16, equaling 76. Grade 4 with 4 sections of 18s at equaling 72. And grade 5 with 4 sections of 18, 19, 19, and 21 equaling 77. The current total enrollment is 454 with an average class size of 17.47. In regards to the Memorial School, the current homerooms, kindergarten, 4 sections, 14, 15, 15, and 16 equaling 60. Grade 1, 3 sections, 17, 17, and 18 equaling 52. Grade 2 with 5 sections at 15, 15, 15, 15, and 16 equaling 76. Grade 3 at 4 sections with 12, 15, 15, and 16 equaling 58. Grade 4, 4 sections, 18, 18, 18, and 18 equaling 72. And grade 5 with 4 sections of 15, 16, 17, and 17 equaling 65. The current total enrollment is 383 with an average class size of 15.96. And last, the Francis Wyman current homeroom numbers. Kindergarten, 5 sections, all 14s equaling 70. Grade 1, 5 sections, 18, 18, 18, 18, and 19 equaling 91. Grade 2, 5 sections, 16, 16, 17, 17, 17 equaling 83. Grade 3, 5 sections of 16, 17, 18, 19, 19 equaling 89. Grade 4, 5 sections, 14, 16, 18, 18, and 18 equaling 84. And grade 5 with 4 sections of 16, 17, 17, 17 equaling 67. The current total enrollment is 484 with an average class size of 16.69. The district average class size total is 17.09. In regards to the programmatic capacity, I would refer to the roughly 18.1 enrollments as the programmatic capacity. We do not include any lab students in our student enrollment numbers. The DSC students are included in our state enrollment numbers because they are Burlington residents, see previous slide. We are placing them in a district program because of their learning profile. In regards to enrollment capacity, the enrollment capacity at the elementary level is measured across all 4 elementary schools. There are 98 homerooms across the district currently in use. The enrollment capacity, given our objective of 18 students per homeroom, would be 1,764 students of 98 classrooms times 18 students per classroom. We create elementary attendance zones to distribute students as evenly as possible across the 4 elementary schools to maintain roughly the 18-to-1 student-to-teacher ratios. And then in regards to the new Fox Hill options. Option 3, as modeled, includes 18 homerooms plus 10 additional full-size classrooms for literacy, district DSC, and lab programming. The programmatic enrollment, 325 as identified by MSBA, allowing Burlington to use 18 students per classroom. This program usage leaves 10 additional full-size classrooms for literacy, lab programming, and DSC programming. The enrollment capacity. The option 3 model contributes 18 full-size classrooms plus an additional 10 full-size classrooms for a total of 28 classrooms. Therefore, the enrollment contractual capacity could remain roughly the same as the current Fox Hill in the scenario summarized above, depending upon the lab program, building placement, and DSC program growth and building placement. Both of these programs are slated for placement in the new Fox Hill School for the immediate future. As far as option 6, as modeled combined with Pine Glen, includes 18 homerooms plus 10 additional full-size classrooms for literacy, district DSC, and lab programming at Fox Hill, and 18 programs plus 6 additional full-size classrooms for literacy and district DSC at Pine Glen. Programmatic enrollment, 640 as identified by MSBA after allowing Burlington to use 18 students per classroom. This building usage leaves 16 full-size classrooms for literacy classrooms, lab programming, and DSC programming. That's the first comment. The next comment is regards to public comment asked for the raw criteria matrix results to be posted. They have been posted on the project website. The next public comment. I am wondering what format the members of the committee are using to share their thoughts, plans, and stands on the proposals for the new school building. At tonight's meeting, there was no discussion from any of the members, which made sense in the format, but I am curious how each member is sharing their stands on these plans. How is the committee planning on involving more than the Fox Hill and Pine Glen neighborhood, as the building will impact the entire town? The impact, as you are aware, is both financial as well as affecting enrollment in all the elementary schools. The audience was primarily the two neighborhoods, and the larger Burlington community needs to be involved due to the impacts resulting in this decision. I also believe that there needs to be a non-technology-based system to communicate thoughts and feelings about the plans, as there is a large population on seniors in both that impacted neighborhoods and towns. Is the school committee not involved in the plan for obtaining full thoughts from all the Burlington community? Technology-based systems can be a method of excluding the older population. The response is the SBC members have expressed their opinions in the SBC meetings. Because of open meeting law, they were unable to directly comment on or dispute public opinions presented during SBC meetings. The community meeting on October 18th was intended for public comment, not SBC member comments. Also, the community meetings in July and September were intended to involve more of the public without technology concerns raised here. As you point out, there are impacts to all of Burlington students and residents. The thought exchange experience was intended to involve more than Fox Hill and Pine Glen neighborhoods. Some SBC members spoke with people from other neighborhoods who often had a different opinion about the best way forward for our school district. However, since there is more impact on the Fox Hill and Pine Glen neighborhoods, those residents have been the most passionate and involved in our meetings and in thought exchange. The next question was, I'm worried about flooding. Our response is it would be important to understand the context of this concern. However, storm water management will be incorporated into the design of the building and site. The flow of water off-site will not exceed the rate that is currently, or that it currently occurs. The new school will not negatively impact the site or the neighboring properties. And lastly, will my house be redistricted? We have answered this question on our project website under FAQs. It says, the town-wide redistricting may occur with or without new buildings. Redistricting examines what the classrooms and students are across town and attempts to distribute students as evenly as possible for as long a time as possible. There are events that can cause redistricting, like a new housing development, apartment complex, or a new school. But redistricting is ultimately driven by students.
All right, we have 15 minutes of public comment. I'm going to ask if folks have not spoken before, if they want to go first. Do I have hands in the room? Okay, let me just check any online so I know how many. Okay, come on up. Yep.
Awesome, thanks. Perfect, working? Okay, great. Good evening, my name is Liz Clancy. I am currently in my 9th year teaching 4th grade and 10th year overall at Pine Glen, as well as a former Burlington graduate. I would like to take this opportunity to speak about some of the comments that have been made about Pine Glen during some of these meetings that are quite frankly untrue, misleading, and they're leading to more misconceptions in the community. The public trusts us and believes as what is stated here is fact. They're not privy to the current state of our school. So as someone who has been in Pine Glen for a decade, I would like to tackle a few of these comments. The first comment stated that our school was not handicapped accessible. There was a photo of a side emergency door insinuating that this is how our students primarily travel in and out of our schools. And to clarify, students arrive and depart from Pine Glen through the main entrance or the lower level door. Once inside, we do have a functioning elevator to all 3 levels. And I know it works because I used it all last year when I was in my 3rd trimester pregnant with twins. So I would also like to note that we have had some students come through Pine Glen in wheelchairs. We have always made adjustments to the building to ensure health and safety. Here are a few more of the updates to the building regarding accessibility. There's a new single student bathroom, just like the one downstairs, on the 2nd level. We have a new outside paved pathway for an emergency evacuation. There are new playground mats for wheelchair access. There are new swings and even a communication board. And there are now break spaces as well that have been built into our school for each of our developmental skills classrooms. We also have the statement, it's decrepit, and it's the same building as it was in the 80s with new coat of paint, and that is very much untrue. So here's the list. Some new updates regarding safety are the exterior doors have been replaced. There is new glass that has been replaced on the doors as well as other windows. There are new doors inside our building to also help with safety as well that were not there in the 80s. There are cameras that have been installed, new code blue safety buttons. We have new interior doors that lock. We have defibrillator access and also a gate now surrounding the playground. Some non-safety updates are a new building roof. We have, since the 80s, we have an updated front entrance awning and walkway, new pavement in front of the school, repatched and relined parking lots, new second floor classroom ceilings with new lights and fans, new bathroom stalls for students, new floors, new heating boiler system, new electric generator, new shades on the first floor, updated sink faucets, new front offices, a redone teacher's room, updated staff bathrooms, new speech and guidance suite where the egg used to be. We have new special education classrooms on the first floor. We have projectors that have been installed, Apple TVs and phones, just like all the other schools in our district. We are equitable, just like them. The cubbies have been moved to the hallway. There is now storage within our classrooms. We have whiteboards that have been put up in all of the classrooms. We have a new library on the first floor with carpet and new bookcases and seatings and even a new makerspace area. We have filtered water fountains and updated technology like everyone else in the district. Our school is not decrepit. I'm not denying that Pine Glen is an older school. And sometimes it's a hot building. We all know that. However, waiting some time for Pine Glen to be worked on would not be the catastrophic decision that some members here are making. We've been here for decades. We plan to be there for decades more. If it were as awful as being described, why would we stay? Thank you.
Thank you. We good? Oh, go ahead. Who? Oh, I didn't see your hand. Okay.
You calling on me or?
It's okay. I can't see through Bob, sorry. Two hands behind you? Okay.
Thank you. Nolan Glantz, a town meeting member and been a resident for 24 years. One of the things I wanted to share, I've been observing the process. We've gone through a bunch of different iterations in addition to debate here of trying to gather community input. I know that's been a challenge, and that's always a challenge with any initiative because not everyone always pays attention to everything going on. So it's hard. But so we first tried there was a survey on a blog, I believe it was. Can you hear me okay?
Pull it closer.
Oh, okay. Is that better? Okay, sure. Thank you. So the first try to get community feedback was a blog. I think it was Nikki Cadillac's blog. There was a survey, and the results of that were majority of people wanting to keep the schools separate. And then we had the criteria matrix, which the committee members filled out. It was very detailed, and I'm sure it was painstaking to fill them all out. And the results of that was a large majority to keep the schools separate. And then there was a community forum trying to get a lot more people. And there was a pretty good attendance in that high school that night. That was a couple of weeks ago. And there were some people making some comments, a few, about trying to combine the schools, but the large majority of people there were in favor of keeping the schools separate. And then we ran the thought exchange, which there was quite a bit of effort from this committee to create that, and there was money put into it. And I scrolled through there was about 400 or so responses. So we got quite a bit of input there, and there was a large majority of the comments, of all of the highly rated comments, were in favor of keeping the schools separate as well. We seem to keep going back to asking the question again, and we seem to keep getting the same response, which is the community wants to keep the schools separate. And I know, so on the agenda, it looks like we may take a vote tonight, but I just wanted everyone to keep that in the front of their minds when they're casting their votes about what the community keeps over and over and over again saying that they want. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go online next. And are you watching the 3 minutes? Because I think we're already 10 minutes in. Mr. Lozano.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So my name is Bill Asano. I'm a current teacher at Fox Hill. Burlington parent. Daughter goes to Fox Hill, precinct 4 town meeting member. I think it's been kind of misconstrued that people who are trying to make a responsible financial decision for the town don't care about the education of Burlington children. And as I know many other residents are concerned about what a brand new Fox Hill police station, major renovations or building projects to VHS, and then eventually a new Pine Glen, what that's going to cost to the taxpayers in Burlington in the short term and the long term. Being able to provide two new facilities at once seems to me like the responsible decision financially and educationally. We can look at the state population formula and we can go with that. Again, I know the Hurld-Wyman visit did reveal many of the teachers saying, man, we're already packed. This cafeteria is already too small. So going with a 325 school building for an enrollment of 400 and something kids just doesn't seem to make total sense. And just overall, more students in Burlington will have access to newer, better, and I might even say just adequate school settings, because I can tell you that some parts of Fox Hill are not adequately able to educate children in the way they should be. I am not a resident of Westwood, I'm not a resident of Fox Hill Road or Donald Road, and I do understand some of their concerns. But I just want to ask this, should the town be making a decision based on a small neighborhood of households, or should they be making the decision in the best interest of the entire town? I want you to consider that before you vote. We have the opportunity to use state money, and I think it's a really great opportunity to use that for 2 schools. How many Burlington families will be hurt by years and years of tax increases? How many Burlington families will have to make really difficult decisions about Christmas presents, new clothes, or for their growing children, and groceries due to tax increases? I can assume and will assume that many voting board members would not be terribly affected by major tax increases in Burlington, or not affected at all. Many of you will not have to and won't have to make the aforementioned tough decisions about groceries or Christmas presents. But I do ask you to not only think about how you will personally be affected, but how others may be affected. I also know that many voting members on this building committee do not live in this town and therefore will not be impacted at all by an increased tax rate. So please consider this before voting. And to me, it's been pretty obvious throughout this process that some voting members have made their decision a very long time ago about the results of this process, or what they want the results to be. I personally, and this is just me, feel like some members of the school committee listen to a small group of their constituents, and that's it. I wish that the school committee at least attempted to show the voting public that they were willing to consider all options through this process. Your responsibility was to consider all options and what's best for all students and citizens of the community. And again, I personally feel like that was not the case. Thank you so much for your time, and go Red Devils.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lenora Deville. I am also a person that works at Fox Hill School. I have for many years. And yes, all my kids went to Fox Hill School too. Decisions about the new schools are not easy to decide. We all know that. However, the children of our community should come first on our list of needs and provided with the best environment as possible. This town has provided people with free services that many other communities pay for. Schools are the first thing people look at when moving into the town. If people looked at Fox Hill and Pine Glen at their current state, people would wonder why the schools are so run down and not taken care of. Children need a comforting environment where they feel safe and part of the family. They should not be traveling 3 flights of stairs to go to lunch, gym, or an assembly. Commuting to these places takes time out of their free and school time. As it is, the kids don't get a break to enjoy snack. They have working snacks. They should have quick, convenient access to arrive at downtime spots. Their own play areas and family gathering spots should be available to them. A 2-school butterfly school as big as Marshall Simons and as tall as the Green Monster at Fenway does not belong in this area. The neighborhood is supposed to be a safe place for children to walk, ride bikes, skate, scooter, and play. Think of the traffic 2 buildings would bring. Parent pickup created traffic in the neighborhood already. Imagine doubling the cars for pickup and parking. Additionally, the floor plan for the new Fox Hill is inferior. Where do the children in excess of the 325 get moved? Are you going to make Fox Hill students go to another school? There are, I was told, 465 students at Fox Hill now. Do you really feel that the 325 number is accurate? There are 2 grades at Fox Hill with 5 classes this year and kindergarten numbers in the 20s. 1 year ago, the Fox Hill numbers were 6 less than Francis Wyman, who had over 500. Most year, there has been a need for 5 classes for different grades. Children are different these days. And most of us different from when we went to school. They are more needy and require individual support to progress. Different languages and learning specialties require more teacher support and space. Children do not sit in a chair all day as we did. They work in groups and produce projects together. Additionally, space is needed for all these students, and some need quiet areas. Both schools are deserving of their own buildings. Don't shortchange them because of the time lost applying for other projects. It's their turn for updated, beautiful buildings. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell.
Hello, Chris Campbell. My family and I live on Donald Road, so we are a neighbor here, Precinct 1 town meeting member, Ways and Means member, father of 2 daughters who will eventually attend Fox Hill, administrator myself. I'm going to be honest, a lot of us are surprised we're here at the moment with facing a vote that we thought was going to be happening much later. We thought we'd have the time to process the thought exchange, have a conversation. So many of us are rushing to comments here and rushing to be here because we thought we'd have more time. As somebody who's been pretty much part of this board, but on the other side of the screen, watching all along, taking this all in, we've been frustrated because all along it seems to be the 4-school elementary neighborhood model has been what the town wants, what has been spoken here in front of this committee, what has been in the public forums, what has been through the thought exchange. Yes, this is tricky. Yes, this is difficult. Yes, we are all passionate. But when you're a neighbor and a future parent and you're worried if you're going to have a mega school on your neighborhood and your daughters can no longer play in your front yard, yeah, it is important to us as neighbors. Yes, these are real things that we're considering besides the impact of a large school has on elementary school students who are 5 and 6-year-old entering an elementary school for the first time in such a large building, in such a loud setting. And as much as I wanted to get my head around it, I do not see the cafetorium working with students, kindergarten, first, second, third, administration begin. The most recently, I just talked to a Pine Glen family that is just shocked that this conversation is happening. They love their school. They don't want it to change. They do not want a butterfly school over this. They would rather continue to keep it. As our debt schedule says, Pine Glen isn't supposed to be up for another 20 years. We put a lot of money into it, a lot of effort into that great school. We should continue to keep our 4 separate schools for the great culture and education and for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last one. All right.
Hi, sorry, I didn't intend to speak, but I really just have a question, having studied this tiny little thing you all put up there and then make us zoom in on because it's little. So the Fox Hill numbers, when you answered the question about enrollments and lab kids, this current total enrollment if I understand it right from having a student at Fox Hill, or multiple students at Fox Hill, the lab students are on the general ed rosters. So this 454 actually includes those kids, I believe. I don't know if someone wants to correct me if I'm wrong, but they all have a seat in a gen ed classroom. So if you, now I know it's a small number, but if you account for that, I think this current total enrollment is actually inflated. Of course, there's still a gap from 325, but I'm not sure the gap is as big as we are meant to believe. So that was really my only point of clarification. And the other thing is, just looking at enrollment across the district, Memorial is the second largest building and has the smallest class size. So we're thinking about a building that we haven't even broken ground on yet. So the kindergartners that'll go to this new school aren't even born yet. I would think some rebalancing of this could happen over the 5 years. And so it's not actually like we have 100 kids that we have to displace. It's actually a much more longitudinal problem. And I think the kids are going to fit just fine in the, quote, 325 school. That's all.
Ma'am, could you identify yourself? We're taking notes.
I'm so sorry. Yes, so my name's Betsy Monaco Mansfield. Thanks.
Thank you. Bob, that's not questions, right? That's just Aiden. Okay. Christina, we have invoices.
Yep. So next on our agenda is invoices for approval for this evening. We have our Doran Whittier monthly invoice number 12 in the amount of $33,470, and Danisco Designs invoice number 9861 for basic services in the amount of $29,545.
Motion to approve as presented?
Second.
Do you have a question? Oh, sorry. Any questions, comments? All right, here we go. Mrs. Bond?
Aye.
Mrs. Monaco?
Aye.
Ms. Simon?
Yes.
Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Dr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. Kasha?
Yes.
Mr. Cuna?
Yes.
Mr. Sagarino?
Yes.
Mr. Denizio?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Villano?
Yes.
Mrs. Priest?
Aye.
Mrs. Bunker?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
I am also a yes, 1500.
And then just following the invoices, we also have a budget status update. Mike Cox is with us remote this evening. So Mike, do you want to go through the budget status?
Yeah, so, just on just at a monthly basis, we're gonna share with you the budget. Nothing has changed as far as the budget balance. Everything we have approved has been previously committed under a contract. So at this point, if you are looking at it, I would draw your attention to the far right-hand columns, the two of them, contract remaining. We have 734,751 of committed contracts to be billed out, and a open balance of 291,647 of uncommitted costs that we can expend out of your appropriated 1.5 million. Any questions?
Thank you, Mike. School tours. I took some notes and I said I would comment, and then anyone else comment too. Awesome. I was able to go to both the Harold Wyman and the Douglas Gates. It was amazing to see new buildings, right? My son goes to Fox Hill, so an updated building, the natural light. I really thought I can still get lost in Fox Hill, so there's purpose-built wayfinding, like you could tell. It was clear where you need to go. I think they use colors well so the kids know which floor they're on and which direction they need to go. I think it was really intuitive to get around the buildings. Specific to Harold Wyman, I thought the physical location was a really tight squeeze. So they did a great job with the location of the building, the landscaping. There was water in the parking lot. There was like a culvert or whatever it was. I appreciated that they were able to separate the modes of transportation. I know that's a challenge at Fox Hill. It's a tiny parking lot, so the fact that we were able to do that was really helpful. The project spaces, Ms. Doble, all the specialists will love these support spaces, the room for tutors, specialists, etc. As mentioned before, it was concerning to see a 5-year-old school feel so repurposed. The art room was gone. The gym teacher literally said, "Don't let them come for my gym. They're coming for me next." I know we are working to make our building flexible, but I hope we can go more than 5 years before we run out of space. I know that there'd been a lot of comments about the actual size of the building and students and anxiety, and I just felt like the larger building actually made it feel much less crowded. Fox Hill, I was at the book fair the other day, and kids were going to lunch and they were going to the gym, and it was just chaos in that front hallway. So the larger school definitely felt like it absorbed the kids better, and it was so much quieter, things like that. So the bathrooms had no doors, so the teachers had sight lines and sound lines into the bathroom. So I know that could probably help address some behaviors and things like that. So it was a great building. I'm glad we got to go. Douglas Gates was not a Dorn Whittier project, but it was very, very different. We had a meeting separately in a conference room with one principal. Do you know which one it was? Douglas or Gates? Gates principal and the director of the preschool. To set the context, I believe there's about 900 students total, and it's 3 floors. The preschool is on the first floor. The difference here is that the schools are split by floor. So Gates was on the...
Excuse me, if I could clarify, the preschool is a separate entrance in a separate
Correct.
wing.
Correct.
So
But it is on the first floor,
the
right?
other part had 2 schools. One was on one level and one was on another level.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
And so we asked directly kind of, what don't you like about the setup? And a lot of that was more related to the fact that it was on the separate floors. There's a library with no stairwell inside of it, and the principal for the 3rd floor sits on the 1st floor. So there's a lot of negatives in the design that wouldn't necessarily apply to the Butterfly School. They shared a playground. I think that was odd to me too, whereas our Butterfly School would have 2 separate playgrounds. We asked them point blank, would they do it again? And both administrators wholeheartedly said yes. One said the logistical challenge of scheduling playgrounds far outweighed the benefit of being able to replace 2 schools for a fraction of the cost. But one of the schools, I believe it was the Gates that we talked to, currently has a wait list to get in. So it's still a popular school, even though it's quite large. We asked about concerns about preschool students in the building of that size. They had said they had no feedback on the size of the building. The preschool program was also very popular. One of the Fox Hill teachers had asked me, how do they address that school does this and this school does that? And they said they were so close anyway that they already got those comments. But what they were able to do, they felt the benefit was that they were able to kind of take the great things about the other schools and include them in both. The example being one show historically did an art show, and it was so popular that the other school also held one the following year. Again, this design I would certainly not want to replicate, but it was a great perspective. Again, wide open windows, etc. This school, Martha can go into detail, is highly sustainable. I don't know what criteria it had, but there was a lot of, we got to witness a lot of the passive ventilation and the heat. The ceiling tiles were heated. I think it was very neat. So I enjoyed seeing that part. Martha.
So I would also, I was really fortunate, and I was actually able to visit 4 new school buildings in the last several months. We did first visit the Brightwood Lincoln School in Springfield, which was 2 separate schools sharing a gym and a cafeteria, and it was it really was 2 separate schools. And when people talk about the cafeteria, it was each school had their own side of the cafeteria. They didn't mingle the kids. They had their own entrances. They also had 2 separate playgrounds, so scheduling is not an issue with those things. I want to back up and say it was just so amazing to go walk into a brand new designed school building. And whatever we end up deciding to go forward with, I'm very excited to have a new school building in Burlington that has the features that, and as Melissa just said, 3 of the schools I visited were designed by Danisco Designs, and the one that didn't seem to have as many nice features was the one that was not designed, so I think we did well choosing them. But when you walk into the building, whether it's 3 stories or 2 stories, it's bright, it's light, it is quiet. I did not find even the next school I visited was the Maria Hastings, which is in Lexington. It's a 3-story building on again a really kind of small area. It was quiet, it was calm, it was bright. One of the features that Danisco Designs did that wasn't at the other school is if you put glass panels above a doorway and you create light, you create daylight. And these classrooms are just full of daylight, and there's technology that allows them to let more light. If there's lots of daylight outside, you can dim the lights. And if it's a dark gray day, then you can turn the lights back up higher. And it can monitor the ventilation and the CO2 levels and all those things. So walking into these schools was a treat. The classrooms are spacious. The teachers had storage rooms. We've seen a little bit in our mock-ups, I don't know what you're calling them, the concepts of where with each 3 or 4 classrooms, there's a space where small groups can come and work together. Teachers can work with small groups. There can be one-on-one if needed. There are sort of some visual and noise barriers so that people walking through the hallways don't interrupt what the kids are doing, whereas in schools I've worked at in the past, teachers do these same small groups and individual work in the hallways, but they're sitting out there in the hallways and everybody walks by and everybody says hi. And I think a new building that has this opportunity is just real special. There are also, in addition to the hallways seeming quiet, they have a place where they've moved the cubbies out of the hallways so there aren't kids hanging at the, crowding and making noise at the cubbies in the hallways, so it clears the hallways. They put, I think all of the buildings we saw put kindergarten and 1st grade on the 1st floor. So they didn't have to travel up stairwells and things, and they had a smaller space that is where they were familiar with. And that didn't preclude them from doing buddies with the 5th graders on the 3rd floor or whatever. So I really like that. And also with the space we have at the Fox Hill site, we'll be able to integrate the school with the outside natural world for outdoor learning, that kind of thing. And finally, let me just see, the Hastings, the Harold Wyman, already, I think Melissa gave more details. And the other thing about the Douglas Gates, again, is not what I would want to see. Again, it's 3 programs, and it's got, what did we say, 800 students in the 2 schools, so it's a bigger building than we would be building if we went with the combination school. But they are known, Acton Boxborough done a lot of sustainability work, and so that's not something for tonight's discussion, but there was a lot we could learn from them, and I hope we'll be able to integrate into whatever the new building is. So again, I hope after this decision gets made, we can get excited about a new building for our students in Burlington.
Again, I agreed a lot with what Melissa said. It was nice to see all the bright light coming into the Harold Wyman. I was able to tour that school. I just wanted to make a comment. I know someone had said that they've already outgrown that space, and it's because a program moved into that school that wasn't intended to be there 5 years ago. In terms of got really good information, again, on what was working really well at Harold Wyman, but also talked to a lot of teachers on what some of their concerns were. In terms of some of the concerns that, again, I think will help us as we build our school. They were mentioning that the spaces, which are great outside of the classrooms, I mean, it's nice to have that, but there's no line of sight. So when you have younger kids, there's no one, they don't really have the staff to supervise the kids that are out in the hallway. So we want to make sure we take that into consideration. One of the other things was that the stage that they have is too low. So it's hard when they have events in there that people can't see, and also the cafeteria isn't large enough when there are events for the parents to attend, so they're swapping parents to come in and out. So we definitely want to take that into consideration. I think you had mentioned that there were no doors on the bathrooms. Some people think that's great. There are other teachers who think that's terrible. And some of it thinks it's a safety issue to not have the doors because, God forbid something terrible happens, there's nowhere to hide. They can't lock a door, they can't stand on the top of the toilets, whatever it is, to escape whatever danger may be coming in the building. As far as the planning and moving, I've mentioned this before, but I think it's extremely important for us to involve cafeteria people, the teachers, the principal, the nurse. I mean, I spoke to the school nurse, and she had mentioned that where they had originally planned to put her station was at the completely opposite side of the building of, the principal's office and vice principal's office, and it really made more sense to have her near them because they communicate all the time. So they moved her nurse's office closer to the administration office, which was great in the design. So it's nice to know that Danisco listened to them in designing the project. So again, I think it was nice to go see this school, and it certainly gave us some great ideas on what the future can bring for us. But I also want to make sure we're considering all the pluses and listening to what the teachers and people we interviewed when we were on that tour.
If I could just for a quick sec, just respond, and these are just a few schools, and we actually would love to go visit more schools and more non-Danisco schools as well, because we all learn from all of these experiences. I just would like to respond to the Harold Wyman and the overcrowding per se, and what's occurring there. They're actually overcrowded because their early childhood program and their autism program have increased so much that they could not absorb them in the other two schools that they currently exist. So Harold Wyman actually took on 2 or 3 additional classrooms that are for their autism program. So by doing that, they were able to incorporate those classrooms, provide the gen ed or grade level classrooms, while not fully having all of the spaces as intended. They have that flexibility to do that. And I think that goes to the previous comment or response to a comment where we can't anticipate every need. And you certainly don't want to overbuild a school and then pay for it and have the spaces be empty. But thoughtful design and thinking about the flexibility. We have full-size classrooms for all of these programs, which will just give Burlington the option or ability to respond to needs that you might not anticipate in the future. And so, sure, would it be great that they didn't have to share the art and the music room? Absolutely. But they were able to accommodate this special ed program that they just couldn't handle elsewhere. So I just wanted to make that point. But we do look forward to more visits, and we hope more people can join us.
Melissa, just real quick. Yeah. The photos that some of the members that were able to attend the walkthrough, we're going to put them on the project website.
Oh, okay, great.
And then we'll also add the Springfield and Mariah Hastings photos as well, just so that way, if anyone wants to take a look, they can.
Yeah, actually, one other thing too is, to Catherine, to your point, we do have the staff to staff those project areas, so I think we can be proud of that. So I think I felt very confident that we'll use those areas. All right. The ANRAD update, Christina, can you just let us know who needs to be at what?
So thank you. No, you can jump to it. That's fine. We were trying to have, originally, I think I've stated this before, we have some wetlands to the north of the Fox Hill site that are actually in Wilmington. And so we were needing to go before both the Wilmington Conservation Commission and the Burlington Conservation Commission. In speaking with the Wilmington Conservation agent, they stated because they're private property, we don't need to go before the commission for that. So that's great, but they do want to opine on and make sure that the wetland flagging they're all in agreement. So we originally had a hearing with the Burlington Conservation Commission on September 28th. They have just deferred it, so that will now be scheduled for October 12th. And at 3 p.m. on October 10th, thank you, David, I'm looking for him. Thank you, David. We will have a walkthrough with both town conservation agents at 3 p.m. So I know a lot of people could not make the 12th, the hearing on October 12th. I know I have one hand still raised. Thank you, Paul. Eric can make it. All right. Paul, you're off the hook. And so this is just for everyone's benefit.
18th or 12th?
It's the 12th,
Okay.
October 12th.
We'll make sure that the website's updated with October 12th.
October 12th. This is just to identify where the wetlands are. They are flagged. We'll walk with the agents who will then report to the Conservation Commission that they agree with the wetland boundaries. And that's all it is. So it just really provides us with knowing that where we need to make sure that we do not disturb the wetlands, the vernal pool, et cetera. We'll be having lots of Conservation Commission discussions once we know the placement of the school.
Good to move on, Melissa?
What?
Bill Boyven online had raised his hand.
Mr. Boyman, sorry.
Hello, I am a member of the Conservation Commission. I just want to make clear for people that this is strictly a technical review. We will actually, the experts who have flagged it already, will meet with the experts from the Burlington Conservation staff, and they will go flag by flag all the way around the wetlands and adjust if necessary. It's not unusual for our people to say that flag should be 10 feet further back or 10 feet further forward. And so that's what this is all about. There's no discussion of siting of schools or size of schools or anything like that. This is all that site visit is, and that's all that's going to be on the agenda on the 12th.
Awesome. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, next on the agenda is the criteria, feedback, and thought exchange review. So as you know, we've gone through the criteria matrix. We've provided you with a couple of different ways to take a look at the overall feedback from both options, one being an overall kind of Excel sheet that did a side-by-side comparison of everyone's feedback and the overall number that they gave for each project, or each option, I'm sorry. And so that's on the screen was for the option 3. And then the next one was for option 6. Both of these were posted on the project website as well, just so everyone knows. And the other matrix review that we had provided are kind of these Likert scales showing the favorability scores between the different criteria itself as well as the options. And so this is kind of a Likert diverging bar scale for the option 3, new 325 student enrollment on the existing Fox Hill site. And then the next sheet is the option 6 Likert scale diverging bar chart, showing the non-favorable, neutral, and favorable overall kind of review of it. So we've provided these to the building committee and to the community. Again, they're on the website just to do a side-by-side comparison, looking at it from multiple ways of the overall criteria matrix itself. As far as the thought exchange results. So as you know, we had thought exchange open through this past Friday. We worked with the thought exchange team to kind of analytically look at the back end of the results itself, understand how the information is generated and how it kind of puts together a general summary for us to review from the overall feedback. Just so everyone is aware, we had 323 participants with 411 thoughts total in the thought exchange. So this is a quick overview of the main thoughts. It's a summary. It's an AI response that Thought Exchange generated for us based off of the overall feedback from the survey itself. So the response indicates a strong preference for maintaining 4 separate elementary schools on their current sites with concerns about traffic, safety, and the impact of students' social and emotional growth in larger schools. Many respondents emphasize the importance of small neighborhood schools for fostering a sense of community and providing a less intimidating environment for young children. There are also concerns about the potential impact on property values, taxes, and the needs for transparency in the decision-making process. Sorry about that. Some respondents suggest prioritizing improvements to the high school and considering the needs of special education students and mental health support. And so, again, just to summarize the overall thought exchange, this was the initial question that was asked, which was, what are some important priorities and perspectives to consider as we plan for improvements of our school buildings? And so I pulled this on Friday right after we were done, but there are a couple people that last minute did put in a couple of thoughts. So again, roughly 300 participants, over 400 thoughts that we received. As far as the question, what was your role in the district? 15% were staff members, 51% were parents or guardians. There was only one student that participated, and then 58% was community members / other. The next question was, if you currently have children in Burlington Public Schools, which schools do they attend? 16% were Fox Hill, 12% were Pine Glen, 3% Memorial, 8% Francis Wyman, 22% the middle school, 16% the high school, 8% future students, 33% past students, and 23% no students. Next question was, which elementary school district is your home located in? 37% was Fox Hill, 15% was Pine Glen, 13% was Memorial, 22% was Francis Wyman, and 14% was I don't know, not applicable. And the next slide is a word cloud. I'm sure some of you are familiar with this from just the Menti platform, but the larger words are the words that were most stated or common words. So you can see 4 was a larger word, locations, intact, and separate were quite large words based off of the word cloud and feedback. Some key thoughts. This 2-school idea is too large for small children. They should go to elementary schools near their homes in smaller settings. Kids from across town shouldn't be traveling to Wilmington Corner for elementary schools. Keep the 4 elementary school locations. Again, another thought was keep 4 separate schools. No to the 2-wing Green Monster School. And then keep 4 schools on separate sites, best educational model. So top themes by star score, as far as kind of things that are important to the people of the community. Safety was definitely important. Then learning and education, the neighborhood schools, well-being, transitions and impact, and then taxes and values. Another thought in regards to safety was to keep the 4 schools separate and no to the 2 Wayne Green Monster School again, and then keep the 4 schools at the current location. In regards to learning and education, I'm not quite sure why it.
Yeah, it's breaking it down by those buckets, so common themes that the responses tend to filter into, those 5 or 6 major categories. So these are the top comments from each of those categories.
Right. Yeah, this is similar to like the overall thoughts as far as learning and education. Yeah. So the school committee members were voted into office on the promise of maintaining the 4 neighborhood schools. We will remember this promise when it, once again, time to vote. And then another comment was Pine Glen is a wonderful school. Please don't take it away. As far as well-being, the well-being of students is creating a large school environment for young children really in their best interest. It isn't. This is simply about saving a simple $100. Mental health, with increased anxiety among children, we should be creating smaller schools to support less children, not jam into a larger school creating stress. And then last comment, nobody wants this giant school. Why are we still talking about it? And then as far as transition impact, I feel the Pine Glen community would love a new school. However, they would rather continue to have their own separate school and wait for a new building. As far as traffic, with only 2 residential roads leading to Fox Hill, this will cause major traffic issues, backing up for residents, teachers, parents, students, etc. And then as far as taxes and value, people have to realize that taxes are not dormant. Improvements need to be made, and there will be increases. Burlington provides a lot of services for their citizens, and their excellent school buildings should be at the top of the list. Taxes, we can survive keeping 4 separate schools. Our taxes are so low, we can survive this. The town is also still growing. Businesses are still going to alleviate the stress. And then Burlington should have top-notch schools. We've had low taxes for a long time. We should rip off the Band-Aid and build all the schools we need. So that is kind of the general overview of the information that was received through the thought exchange, and it's generated through their kind of back-end system where they provide these kind of top thoughts and general comments for us to review. I don't know if there's any questions in regards to the feedback from Thought Exchange.
Mr. Lozano?
Yeah, a question about the Thought Exchange. Was there a way for non-English speaking families to access this? Was it translated for them?
Yeah, Steve's gonna comment. Oh.
My best. Thought Exchange has a built-in translation service so that the both commenting in the original survey and then responding to it, the translation happens in real time. So that was accounted for within the platform.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Let's do it.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda was the option selection with a vote expected. Before we get into the overall options, I don't know, Donna, if you wanted to just go through option 3 and option 6 real quick as far as the enrollment, 325 versus 640.
I think everyone has heard me go through these options. So I think just more importantly, what we're trying to seek, and I know an email was sent very late this afternoon to the members, kind of explaining what the goal was for this evening, is to select an option, whether it's Fox Hill only for 325 or option 6, which is the combined Fox Hill Pine Glen School. We are not looking to select a location on the site. If it is option 3, we're not looking to decide if it's a 2-story or a 3-story building. We really need this decision first for us to then be able to move the project forward. I know some people in the audience as well were surprised that this was coming out tonight, and the reason why we're able to bring this forward now rather than wait another 2 weeks or the next meeting is because the intent of the thought exchange was we thought we were going to then have a follow-up thought exchange with another question, but based on all of the input that we've received through thought exchange, the information that we received was pretty clear. And so we didn't feel that it was necessary to spend another 2 weeks and seeking the same information that we've been receiving. So I think at this point, our goal tonight would be to have the committee vote to move forward with either option 3 or option 6. And unfortunately, we have to keep those option numbers because those were the numbers we submitted to MSBA. So we'll be hearing these till the end.
Dr. Conti.
Donna, what comes next? Just so I have some understanding, sort of in this process. We've put a lot of energy into the different options. You're provided an option to move forward with. What happens next, and sort of what's the timeline, and what should the committee be expecting?
Sure. So the goal is once we know what option 3 or 6 that we're going with, at the next meeting, we want to focus on sustainability. Let's talk about what inclusions we would like to see as part of the project. We'd like to be starting to have conversations about the floor plans and the layouts, the impact on a 2-story versus 3-story if it goes with option 3. Talking about the phasing and sequencing, which might also help with the location and where placement of a building would go on the site and the impact to the existing Fox Hill residents, students and staff, not the community at large, but the occupants of the Fox Hill School, and then be able to select a 2 or a 3-story and where on the site if it is the option 3. That will be really helpful as we put together the cost estimate set that we have to submit to the cost estimators. We'll have 2 cost estimators this time, which will help us determine the different costs, if it is, again, option 3, a 2-story versus a 3-story, what those cost impacts are. And once we have that information, ideally on November 13th, then we can vote on 2 or 3-story, which part of the site it's going. That gives Danisco and Doran Whittier the time needed to put together the preferred schematic report that needs to be submitted to MSBA. We're asking for another community meeting before we make a final vote for the submission to the preferred schematic report to MSBA. And then on December 12th, we'd be looking for the building committee's approval and vote to submit the preferred schematic report to the MSBA, which would include the location, which option, the floor plans, and any sustainable components that we want to include. And there will be a better cost estimate that will help support this going forward. And then we would obtain MSBA's, we have to submit it to MSBA on December 28th, I think. And that's why we were asking everyone, let's have it before the holidays. So if we meet on December 12th, we can wrap it up.
Donna, I just want to clarify for the record, it will not be December 12th. We have a regular school committee meeting, so we're working on updating that date. It will be maybe the 11th or the 13th, but
sorry, thank you. Yep, the week of December 12th. We're just want to be respectful of everyone's time and have the vote before the holidays begin. And then once we submit it to MSBA, they will review our submission. They will comment and hopefully approve all the spaces that we're requesting for the project. And then the MSBA will vote. I believe it's the end of February. The board will vote to allow us to move forward into schematic design. So I know that was a lot. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. So again, from this, we go towards sustainability, and then there's a fairly fast pace through the end of the calendar year.
Yep.
Mr. Denizio, can you find a mic?
One question on that. When we submit the space summary in the PSR in December, and we submit sustainability hopes at the same time, are we tied to those? So if we submit that we want to try geothermal, gray water, PV, whatever, does that mean we're in then? Or does that mean we're going to try to incorporate it in the project if we can afford it?
So we will be able to, at this point, at the PSR, actually say, okay, our base is, I'm going to make this up, a gas boiler, right, with fan coil units, whatever. But we can have alternates. And we can say this is the cost for ground source, this is the cost for air source, cost for VRF. Yep. And so it's the schematic design submission, which would be the next phase, which will give us 6 full months to really get into all of those aspects on what the preferred solution would be.
Ms. Simon?
And for clarification, am I correct that it would be after that submission that we would be deciding how to put the classrooms near each other and what you have a name for it?
Adjacencies.
Adjacencies, and that teachers would have opportunities to say, yes, we'd like to see it, lined up this way so that we can see the kids out in the workspace and such. So that comes after this part of the process, is that correct?
Actually, we do and have started to work with the school department locating approximates. We will have opportunities to massage it during schematic design, but we do want to identify, where the front door is going to be, where receiving is going to go, how the classrooms will be clustered and shared, integrating the programs. So that is actually part of this, and that's why on October 23rd, we'd love to bring to you the outcomes of the discussions with the school department.
I see a couple hands online, but I have one. Where do we lock in the funding dollar amount from the state?
At the end of schematic design.
Okay.
Next phase.
So at the end of next summer.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Lozano.
Yeah, a couple questions. Since the thought exchange closed, has there been a school building committee meeting?
No.
No.
No, it closed last Friday.
Okay, so there hasn't been a meeting to discuss the results of that since then?
No, that was the review that we just had.
Okay, and when were voting members of the committee informed that they would be voting tonight?
Friday.
With no discussion of the details of the thought exchange?
We reviewed the thought exchange information with the executive working group.
As well as the agenda was posted, I thought it was Thursday, but was it Friday?
And we also reviewed it at the school committee.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Boyven.
Yes, thank you. I just have one request, that we remove the shared screen so we can see when the vote takes place, and I also request that there be a roll call vote. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a hybrid meeting, so it's a roll call.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
I move we eliminate option 6 and focus on single Fox Hill School, option 3.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? I have a statement that I would like to read. As you all know, we are obligated to work through this process according to the MSBA requirements. The consolidated school was an option identified long before we began this project as having the potential to address our aging facilities and save on the cost of doing so. I think our OPM and designer have done a good job of planning for this, and I was very impressed by the concept and the design. But in the end, we have to build a school for this town, and our taxpayers will have to fund it. The feedback we have heard thus far has been strongly in favor of a smaller neighborhood school. I want to thank the families who have been engaged thus far and ask that you maintain that engagement. You will be called upon for input and to support the funding the project through town meeting and a general vote for a debt exclusion next year. I am disappointed that option 3 does not address the infrastructure needs of Pine Glen, and I'm concerned about the uncertainty that remains in how we address those needs. I'm also concerned about the cost to taxpayers and the capacity constraints imposed by MSBA in exchange for their funding. However, I can commit to making option 3 the best building it can be for the Fox Hill neighborhood and the district as a whole. I'm dedicated to working with the school committee to also refine and implement an overall building strategy that includes improvements at Pine Glen and at Burlington High School. Any other discussion?
I would like
Ms.
to
Simon?
make a statement, and there's also, I would like to make sure that people who are not voting members of the school building committee understand they have an opportunity to be part of this discussion before we take the vote. I want to, I believe that option 6 with the Butterfly School is the best option for Burlington. I know I will not change anyone else's vote, but I believe that option 6 better serves Burlington and our students, including the need for our renovations or replacing the high school in the future. I understand that the people who have been very engaged and who live in the neighborhood are very passionately against this option 6. I understand they're the most affected by increased students and teachers at that building. I've also heard from other people in the community who believe that option 6 is the best option. As I've said before, I'm using 3 broad criteria to make my decision. And I first of all tried to look at what will provide the best educational opportunities for the most Burlington students. Clearly, a new 21st century educational facility, which provides space for the education of 640 students, will provide better educational opportunities for twice as many students. Some folks don't believe that this Butterfly School would provide a small school environment or a good educational environment. I visited 2 of those schools, and I believe strongly that a Butterfly School can provide a small school environment and community, and also a good educational environment for young children. We all agree, I think, from what I've heard from everyone, that small class size is more important than the size of the enrollment or of the building. Option 6 maintains our small class sizes that I am still committed to. My second priority is what is most cost effective, and this is my second, not my first priority, after the educational needs of our students. It needs to be considered, however, because every taxpayer in town will be voting to support or not support this project, and will be paying for our new school buildings, not just for this Fox Hill, but hopefully soon also for the high school. As we know, any new school building will cost a lot of money. Inflation, supply chain issues, and other construction factors have caused school building costs to skyrocket since we last built a new school 12 years ago. However, if we replace the Fox Hill and Pine Glen schools in this one project, it will save the town money in the future. With option 3 for $85 million, we get a school for 325 students. However, if we choose option 6, it will cost only $30 million more for the additional 325 students. Building a separate Pine Glen school in the future would cost Burlington at least another $85 million, and so option 6 would save Burlington taxpayers at least $57 million. And I understand there's possibilities of renovations and repairs and such, but that's the general money that we're talking about impacting our tax base. This is big savings, and I believe it would be without sacrificing the educational environment for our children. And finally, looking to the future, we currently have space constraints for our Burlington Early Childhood Center. We are very likely to have a state requirement to provide pre-K for all children in the near future. Where are we going to put those children and those programs? We've also heard that we may need space for additional special education programming. Where will those go? We now have only 6 school properties. If we build option 6, we can use the Pine Glen building and property for early childhood programming, for swing space when we renovate or rebuild the high school, and other program or office needs. And I want to agree with the teacher at Pine Glen. We have maintained the buildings well. I mean, I don't feel it's decrepit. I feel like we've taken care of our buildings, and even Fox Hill, you know, which I would not want our, you know, people teaching in that building and students learning in that building. I'd like to have a new building, but we have maintained them, and we have done the best we can with those constraints. And yes, there are costs involved in maintaining programs and offices at the Pine Glen building, but there are maintenance savings in a new building that are likely to offset this. We also may have increased enrollment in the future. We have some reasonable estimates of our 10-year enrollment projections, and people have had lots of opinions about whether we should believe the 10-year enrollments. But I agree that all bets are off for the 20-year forecast. It's hard to know what's going to happen in 20 years. This building that we're building is a 50-year or more, hopefully, commitment for facilities for our schools. I believe option 6 provides better educational opportunities for more children. It costs $57 million less than option 3, and it allows us flexibility to use the Pine Glen building and site for current and future needs. And I also want to say that whatever we do, I hope that everyone who has come to this process with passion will continue to work to make this new building the best it can be, and will continue to work so that we can also do whatever is needed for the high school in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Sagarino,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
can you pull that in a little bit more?
Pull in a little. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to reiterate something that Martha said, and that is that no matter what the vote is of the committee, I'm committed to work with the committee to bring that project forward and get a positive vote for the town. But I am also in favor of option 6, the Butterfly School. I really think it's an unbelievable opportunity to provide both schools with a modern learning environment at a significant, you know, almost $60 million savings to the town. I've been working for the town for about 18 years and primarily in finance, and, you know, the small school option 3 is approximately 3 times as large as the biggest project the town's ever done. So to me, when the numbers start getting that big, I think we need to sort of change the way we look at things and the way we think about things. And I really feel as though by spending a little bit more money now, we would be able to satisfy both of those schools and also be able to focus our attention on, you know, the elephant in the room, which is the high school. So for that reason, I also, in the time that I've worked here, I've come to appreciate the smaller class sizes as, you know, a key hallmark of Burlington education. I'm glad to see that both of these options would satisfy that. But I'll be honest with you, I've never heard in 18 years that a smaller school is the only way to provide an education to our younger students. If that's the case, then I would, you know, would respectfully think that the school committee would be looking for a 5-school model so that we could shrink the size of the other schools as well. The small school option also, by default, would require us to redistrict some students to the other already larger schools, in some cases, making them a little bit larger. And to me, that just seems a little bit contradictory as well. I really appreciate the perspectives from all the educators during public comment, and I've spoken to directly. But I guess I'm pretty analytical. I'm an accountant by trade, and the fact that Andover, Bedford, and Lexington and places like that that really have exceptional school systems like ours have much larger elementary schools, I think at least gives me evidence that there are different ways to provide good education to students, and maybe the size of the school isn't the preeminent thing. I do believe that the traffic concerns raised by residents of the neighborhood are 100% valid, and I'm very much an optimist in that I feel as though with the improved design on the site and with some improved work on the street network around the school, that we can mitigate that and make the situation better than it exists today. Just another couple of things that came to mind. I believe our current school committee when they say that they're committed to not move the Pine Glen forward, but the way it works in local government is future school committees are not bound by the decision of this school committee. So I do worry that once we do have a new shiny Fox Hill school that, there may be a real push to get to the Pine Glen sooner to provide the same opportunities at that school. I also truly appreciate all the feedback from the educators and the parents from the Pine Glen School. I also believe them that they're very comfortable with their school as of today. But that does not guarantee us that in 2 years or 3 years from now, in particular when the shiny new school opens, that there really could be a push from those neighbors and the people that attend that school and work at that school to say, hey, why are we working at an 80-year-old school and every other school in the town is modern? So I do worry that would come forward much sooner than we anticipate, and certainly much sooner than 20 years from now. But that said, I appreciate all the effort from the committee and all the input from the residents. And like I say, I think we all got to get on the same page after this vote and work together to bring whatever project is selected forward and get a successful vote from the town on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Margaret?
Okay. So as a parent and committee member deeply invested in the future of the education in Burlington, I have meticulously weighed the options before us. So building a combined school to accommodate 640 students or constructing the smaller Fox Hill School for 325 students. I acknowledge that neither choice presents a perfect solution. However, after listening to all of the information presented, considerable deliberation, and understanding the unique needs of our community, I will cast my vote. I'm more in favor of the smaller Fox Hill School for 325. My decision stems for the following reasons. I believe we have a commitment to neighborhood schools. Burlington has a proud tradition of the neighborhood school model, which fosters community bonding, a localized education tailored to each district's needs. The smaller school size is more aligned with this model and Burlington's educational programming. Prioritizing social and emotional needs, the proposed building for the combined school, irrespective of the student count, will stand as the second largest school structure in Burlington. Such a sizable facility inherently carries an intimidating presence. This can be particularly daunting for our youngest learners who are just starting their educational journey. Beyond the physical size, in my opinion, a school catering to 640 students possesses significant challenges in meeting the social and emotional needs of our students. I hold profound concerns, especially for our special needs students. In our current schools, they benefit from tailored, intimate support systems that's crucial for their development. I fear this personalized touch may be diluted in a larger environment, despite our best intentions of smaller class size and robust educational plans. My third point would be the budgetary and sustainability worries. The proposed butterfly school model, which envisions 2 schools on one site, brings forth concerns about its long-term sustainability, especially from a fiscal perspective. It's foreseeable that future financial constraints could lead to a merger of the schools, thereby eroding the essence of having 2 separate institutions and maintaining a 4 elementary school model. As far as the MSBA funds, while the smaller school may not perfectly align with our aspirations, passing up the MSBA funding would be imprudent. By utilizing these funds for the smaller school now, we can lay a foundation upon which future endeavors, like potentially renovating, rebuilding the Pine Glen School, to more accurately cater to Burlington's evolving educational needs. In conclusion, while the Fox Hill School for 325 may not be the ideal scenario we envisioned, It's a pragmatic step that ensures we make judicious use of available resources while upholding the values and vision of Burlington's educational framework and community needs.
Thank you. Mr. Brooks.
First off, I'd like to thank Danisco, Doran Whittier for your hard work at this point, the school building committee as well. All the town members that participated as well, I'd like to thank you for your input. I don't think it's any secret that I've not liked both choices from the beginning. Been trying to work through a way to maybe get to a better solution. I'm fully committed to whatever this body votes, moving it forward, realizing this project. It's going to take everyone's effort to get it over the finish line, as Melissa alluded to. When it comes vote time, I think we're going to have to get all the people on board here to get a vote, to get a debt exclusion through. And I'd also just, like to say, I really do think the bigger school would be a better option, but unfortunately this time I don't believe we'll pass it if we go that route. So thank you.
All right, I'm just going to clarify the motion on the floor is to eliminate option 6. Yes, okay. That's what we need, right? Okay. All set? Mrs. Bond.
Aye.
Mrs. Monaco.
Aye.
Ms. Simon.
No.
Mr. Brooks.
No.
Dr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. Kasha.
Yes.
Mr. Cuna.
Yes.
Mr. Sagarino.
No.
Mr. Denizio.
No.
Mr. Rosenblatt.
Yes.
Mr. Volano.
Yes.
Mrs. Priest.
No.
Mrs. Bunker.
Yes.
Mr. Lyons.
Yes.
And I vote yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 10, 5, 0. Motion passes. All right.
Any other topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours prior?
Ms. Simon?
We now have an option that will address the Fox Hill School only. So I would like to propose that the members of the Pine Glen community who've been important to this discussion are not appropriate to be part of this discussion any longer, or this voting and school building committee any longer. And it's nothing personal, but I actually asked that you all be added once it became clear that we were looking at both schools. And I think at this point it would be appropriate for us to perhaps have a vote about no longer including them. I know there is a history in many, many school building committees where people come and go on school committees over the course of the project. So again, it's nothing personal, but I do think that if this is going to be a Fox Hill School community project, it certainly will affect other schools, as we've all heard the argument. I would like to, I guess I should make a motion. So I'd like to make a motion to that effect, please.
Yeah. We'll look for a second.
Is there
yeah.
a second?
Okay. Ms. Monaco had her hand up.
Since Martha just came up with this thought tonight, I think we should not vote on it tonight, but we should give everyone a little time to think about it and maybe take it up at the next meeting.
Oh, yeah, Mrs. Bunker. Yeah.
Sorry. So while I would love to have my time back, I am still a parent and a taxpayer and an educator, and I'm very invested in all the plans for Burlington schools. So personally don't feel like I need to be off the committee. That's just my opinion. I would still love to have input as well, and who knows what their districts look like when these are done as well. And I could be at any of the 4 schools. I don't know. So
There'll be time.
I don't think that that's necessary, but appreciate your appreciation for our time.
Mrs. Priest?
I think we've gotten a lot of feedback about how large this committee is and then moving things forwards and keeping it on a timely manner and making decisions. If we're going to focus down on the Fox Hill project, I think parents and community members have plenty of opportunities to come and voice their concerns, but a smaller group would get us back on track and focusing on getting that 325 school done.
I'm in agreement there. I don't want to have to add a memorial and a Francis Wyman parent at this point, but I'm fine with moving it to the next meeting, if that's okay with you, Martha.
I will withdraw my motion for
Okay.
tonight. Yes.
All right. Hold on one second. Yeah, Mr. Brooks.
Just one comment. Now that we have a option we're moving forward with, a little out of scope, but I'd implore the administration and the operations manager to reinvigorate the process for the 10-year building plan, scoped, costed, and scheduled. Now that we are moving away from the Pine Glen building, so we understand when that's going to happen, or if it's going to happen before 2036.
Go ahead.
So I think we reported, I just want to make sure everyone is aware, we have a sustainability working group, 10/10 at 10 a.m. I won't forget that, October 10th at 10 a.m. We'll be sending out invites. It will be virtual, and we're really excited to talk about the opportunities, the incentives, the cost savings that are available to the town as we start moving this forward.
You good? That was your not reasonably anticipated, right?
Correct.
Okay. I think we have another public comment. Come on.
Hi, Elizabeth Orfanos, Fox Hill parent and special educator. I just want to take the opportunity to speak to Martha's motion. While I understand the dynamics of this board has just shifted a bit to focus on Fox Hill, one piece I want to raise in that is possibly the professionals and expertise of the Pine Glen people we have here. Their role may have just shifted, but I think we have to keep in mind, particularly if the DSC is moving over to Fox Hill, particularly the educators on the ground working with those children, their input is absolutely crucial. And Dr. Conti, I'm sure you have a lot of information about that, and of course are such an important part of our committee here, but the educators in those special ed programs that may change their location need to remain involved. So I appreciate you considering that feedback. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any hands? All right, we flashed the next meeting slide already, but it's that.
Yes. We try our best to make sure that we send out this presentation in advance of the meeting so that the group has time to review it. Things are constantly changing and evolving with meetings as far as conflicts and rescheduling, so we'll make sure that before this meeting is or the presentation is posted, that the dates that have changed will be updated and that invites are properly sent out, just so everyone is aware. But they'll also be posted on the website. We can post them on the front page just so everyone has the dates firsthand.
Thank you. We're all set. Do I have a motion? Any second. Anyone?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Meeting adjourned.